this was maybe one of my, I think this is my favorite headline actually of the
Really?
show. I'm going to
Oh,
tease it.
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So Dick's Sporting Goods is opening a new off-price concept called Going, Going, Gone. And that's how you have to say it when you want to go there anytime.
Holy
Uh,
cow.
the going gone concept, not to be confused with their warehouse sales, which they're also still doing, uh, will feature surprising deals on unique finds in footwear and apparel with deep discount events throughout the year. Big news here, Chris. Also, this is our A&M put you on the spot question.
Oh, Jesus, really? Oh,
So
God.
you are on the spot
I didn't know that.
this week.
Oh, great.
So the A&M Consumer and Retail Group says we get the concept of Dick's off price. Makes sense. Now, that said, in the athletic apparel space, Nike, Adidas, Reebok, some of Dick's biggest partners, they've all been pursuing their own D2C strategies, going
Oh,
forward with
wow.
their own outlet channels. They're severing ties with people like Nike and DSW. They cut ties. What do you make of this disconnect and the implications that it has on Dick's Sporting Goods vendor relationships?
Whoa. That is a good question. Wow, that is a definitely next level question. Whoa, kudos to the A&M group for coming up with that. That's why we bring them to you guys every week on this show. Whoa, I think that's probably the most heady question those guys have ever asked. Wow, where do I start? Okay, I think first of all, I do like the move. I think it makes sense. Like, even though I made fun of the name going, gone, and how ironic that is with everything that's happening in e-commerce, I think it's a great move. I mean, I think you're going to need more places to get rid of discounted merchandise, but specifically returned merchandise. I think we have to figure out different ways to do that. And so I think Dick's makes sense. The question that they're getting at, though, is what does this mean in terms of channel partnerships with all the brands that go into the store? I think that's fascinating, too. I mean, my take right now, my hot take would be, I think there's space for a category killer in most businesses. And I want to hear from you because you're kind of living this lifestyle a little bit more than I am with the young kids right now. But so I think of places like Dick's. I think there's a need for a physical sporting goods store. Best Buy. I think there's still a need for a physical electronics store. IKEA. Who gets left out of that is like places like Bed Bath and Beyond don't fit the mold in that for me. And I think the reason being, like, what's the chore you have to get done? And when you're talking sporting goods with kids, that is a chore you have to get done. And there's some efficiencies and convenience to having that physical location. So I think that's always going to exist. So I'm not worried about this from a channel partnership perspective, because I think all that can be written out contractually in terms of what inventory goes where and how Dick's
Mm-hmm.
needs to think about it. And I think both sides will need each other. So let's just use Nike as the example. I think Nike will still need Dick's as the outlet for their product to tap into that consumer base who has that chore to get done. And so I think it'll be kind of this symbiotic relationship, even though this type of outlet strategy is also being stood up. But tell me where I'm wrong and what did I miss there? Because that's a tough question. And granted, this is not my wheelhouse either. I'll say that right off the bat.
I agree with you. I actually think it would shock me if Nike and Adidas and some of these other brands, especially when you think about it, not as like the lifestyle stuff, not as like the clothing, the lifestyle footwear, the hot sneaker drops. Like, that's
Right.
not where Dick's is
That's not
playing.
what they're going to
Okay.
be about.
They're
Yeah, they're never going to
playing
be that.
in the
Good point.
sporting goods equipment. Like, it's not
Right.
the same thing. Nike wouldn't, like, they don't have the footprint to dedicate to like carrying 6 different brands of baseball or formats of baseball gloves.
Right.
And I totally agree with you. There is nowhere else to go anymore. There's the mom
Yeah.
and pops are practically gone when it comes to
Yeah.
this category. And so when you need, which happens
Yeah.
a lot, like you're at a tournament somewhere and you need new shin guards or you need
Yeah.
new socks, like this is it. This is your only spot to go. And so I think that this move is so smart by Dick's. I love it. I think we have the main store that can still focus on these really cool experience things where you have, trials for different soccer cleats and all of those like really great things to go hard on, like what you're going to a Dick's Sporting Goods store for. But then I also love this like off-price concept concept, because you know what I don't care about when I'm buying new soccer cleats for my 8-year-old, whether they're this year's version or last year's version. I don't care, and neither do they. They want a soccer cleat that's affordable, that gets them into the sport. And so I think that there's tons of opportunity here, like you said, with returns and really getting that affordable price point, because your other alternative is ordering from Amazon. And I just did that for my son's cleats this year. It took 2 weeks for them to get here. Actually, 3 weeks from Nike directly, 2 weeks from Amazon, and 3 weeks from Nike directly to get one pair of cleats. Like, that's not going to work for people. You got to have this option. And so I love what they're doing here.
Yeah, even as you say what you just said too, I think there's some benefit to Nike to say, hey, for that type of product, Dix, why don't you handle all that? Like, we don't want the cost of all that. Like, why don't you handle the liquidation and markdowns of all that stuff and the reselling of all that stuff? Yeah, I think it makes, the other part too is going back to like the category killer and who survives. There's a tactile element to that purchase process too. Like, you want confidence in the equipment, right? Just like you want confidence sometimes in what electronics you're buying because you're spending the money. You know, I think again, like those are important questions to think about who thrives here in the future of, I think, physical retailing.